Hello everyone, I hope you are well. Today I'm going to be doing a short assembly about a subject that we should all be learning about this month. So I'm not going to say any more, and I'm going to let the slides do the talking. So my first question for you today is, do you recognise any of these people? Have a look along the rows and see if there's anybody you think, oh, I know who that is. I'll give you a few moments to do that. Okay, well, I hope you recognise some. I didn't recognise everybody, but I did recognise a few of them. I recognised the man with the red nose as the comedian, Lenny Henry, and I also recognised the man with the beard and the necklace as Lewis Hamilton. Anyway, so the reason that we're looking at these pictures is because this month, this October, we're celebrating Black History Month. And we're going to look at some famous characters, famous people from Black history, and we're going to celebrate them. And the reason we're celebrating them specifically is because we don't often do this. And so it gives us a good opportunity to focus on people of colour and their achievements. So I've got a photo for you. I want you to have a look at this man, and I want you to think about why he might be famous. There might be some clues in the picture, so have a good look at the picture. So this is Jacob Lawrence. He was an American painter, born in 1917, and he died in the year 2000. My assembly today is going to be all about him. I didn't know much about him, I've got to be honest. I knew some of his pictures, but I didn't know much about him at all until I came across a book. And that's one of the great things about books, is that they can teach you about different people, different cultures, different places all around the world. And the book that I came across was called this, Little Leaders, Exceptional Men in Black History, by a lady called Vashti Harrison, and there's a photo of her there. So she's a writer and an illustrator. She's also a filmmaker, and she makes books, and this is one of her books. She also does an Exceptional Women in Black History, which we'll have a look at. This is an illustration from her book, and it is of Jacob Lawrence. So you can see him, and you can see two of his pictures behind him. So he's a very prolific artist, and these are two pictures that really caught my eye. The first one, Blind Beggars from 1938, is a painting taken on the streets of Harlem, which is where he grew up, more about that in a moment. And the second one is a print called Carpenters from 1977. I just really loved the use of colour, and I love the shape of the people. I think he captures people's movements and the way they look in an amazing way. Jacob was born in 1917, and early in his life his mum and dad split up. And so Jacob and his mother arrived in an area of New York City called Harlem in 1930. And these photos are actually from Harlem at that time. Harlem was quite an exciting place to be, but it was also a very poor place to be. Lots of people didn't have enough money. And these photos are just some examples of what the scenes would be like if you saw them. Of course, it wouldn't be black and white, it would be colour. But it gives you an idea of what life was like for Jacob in those early days. The man carrying the bucket is an ice salesman, so he would have gone around the town selling ice. During this time, Jacob's mum sensed that her 13-year-old was very creative. She enlisted him for after-school art classes, and he was already so skillful that his instructors just let him paint. He had some very famous mentors, a man called Charles Alston, and you can see his picture there, a famous painter, and Augusta Savage. They both mentored him in art, and he also had a historian called Charles Seyfert, who encouraged him to explore black history, just like we're doing now. Jacob combined his graphic and modern painting style with his newfound appreciation of history, and he began a series of biographical works. In 1938, At just the age of 21, he finished his first notable collection, a 41-piece series chronicling the life and accomplishments of the Haitian leader Toussaint Louverture. And these are some pictures from that series. At a time before Black history was widely celebrated, Jacob made a conscious effort to bring the name of Toussaint into the mainstream. He went on to paint other historical figures, including Harriet Tubman and Frederick Douglass. His most famous work was a series recounting the African-American journey from the south to the north, like the experience he and his mother had gone through. It was called the Migration Series, and it was a 60-panel masterpiece that catapulted Jacob into the artistic spotlight. To create these amazing pictures, Jacob used albumen, which is from eggs. So the paint is actually made out of eggs, and that's what gives them their deep colour. Jacob also spent time teaching, and there's a great photograph of him here working with young people and showing them the basics of painting and drawing. But he didn't love the attention that he received. He felt guilty that he'd become more famous than his mentors, the people that had taught him. So he spent the rest of his life making art and mentoring young artists. He is remembered for his use of art to examine and capture the experience of African Americans and their everyday struggles. So here's some more of his paintings. This one's called The Businessman from 1947. This is a painting, again, using the egg albumen paint. Again, it's got a really good use of colour. They all look quite stressed, lots of heads in hands. And the next picture is called The Library. And I love this. This is actually a print done the similar time to the earlier one that we looked at, which is called The Carpenters. And again, the use of the colour is just so beautiful, and it really does capture the feeling of being in a library. I love this. I love it. So that's Jacob Lawrence from the book that introduced me to him. I'd never heard of him before. And I really enjoyed researching him and finding out about his life and finding and seeing his amazing pictures. Amazing. So over the rest of this term, so the next 2.5 weeks, we will be looking at other exceptional people from Black history, and we'll be sharing them with you. The next time we'll be focusing on the UK though. We won't be going so far afield as America for our next significant person from Black history. Okay, thank you very much for listening. Take lots of care.